Welcome to the channel Coin Hustle USA. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? Most people spend this exact coin every single day without even realizing it possesses the sheer, undeniable power to buy a massive luxury mansion outright. Imagine reaching into an old dusty jar, pulling out a seemingly ordinary piece of clad metal, and discovering that elite collectors from around the globe would literally fight tooth and nail to add it to their private vaults. This one bizarre, almost mythical mistake at the mint created a 1997 D Washington quarter that is currently valued at a staggering, mind-bending $680 million. Yes, you heard that absolutely correct, $680 million for a single quarter, a coin that was originally minted to be spent on a gumball or a parking meter. Now, before we dive deep into the mind-blowing history, the intricate error types, and the legendary auction records of this specific 1997 D masterpiece, I need you to do me one massive favor: stick around until the very end of this video. I am not kidding when I tell you that the coins we have lined up after this one get progressively more insane, carrying price tags that will literally shatter your understanding of reality, but you have to stay to find out what they are. So, let's get right into it. The year was 1997, a time when the United States Mint was pumping out hundreds of millions of Washington quarters at the Denver facility, trying to keep up with the relentless demand for everyday pocket change. Nobody at the Mint, from the low-level press operators all the way up to the facility supervisors, had any idea that a catastrophic, yet incredibly beautiful, mechanical anomaly was about to occur deep within the bowels of Building B. You see, the 1997 D Washington quarter was supposed to be struck on a standard copper-nickel clad planchet, just like billions of others before it, but due to a freak alignment of the stars, or perhaps a momentary lapse in the incredibly strict quality control protocols, a small handful of these quarters were accidentally struck on a highly experimental, ultra-rare platinum test planchet. Platinum. The very metal that trades for nearly $1,000 an ounce in today's market, and back in 1997, this unauthorized metal was being secretly tested by the Mint for a proposed new commemorative series that never actually made it to the public's knowledge. A rogue Mint worker, whose identity has remained a fiercely guarded secret for over 2 decades, accidentally loaded a tiny batch of these shimmering platinum blanks into the massive coining press alongside the regular clad blanks. The press came down with thousands of pounds of bone-crushing force, stamping the iconic George Washington profile onto a metal that was never intended to carry his likeness. The result? A coin that visually looks almost identical to a regular quarter at first glance, but the moment you pick it up, you feel an immense, almost magical weight difference. A standard clad quarter weighs exactly 5.67 grams, but this illicit platinum error weighs in at a hefty 9.8 grams, making it feel undeniably substantial, like a tiny, dense bar of pure wealth resting in the palm of your hand. The edge of the coin also lacks the traditional copper-nickel sandwich layering, instead showing a solid, unbroken, brilliant white edge that screams premium precious metal to anyone who knows what they are looking at. Why do high-end collectors chase this specific error with such rabid, unyielding desperation? It is because it represents the ultimate intersection of numismatic history, minting blunders, and intrinsic precious metal value. There are believed to be fewer than 3 known specimens in existence today, making it rarer than the fabled 1933 Double Eagle or the legendary 1913 Liberty Head nickel. When the very first example of this 1997 D platinum error surfaced at a small, regional estate sale in rural Colorado back in 2008, it was actually mistakenly grouped into a jar of random foreign coins and sold for a measly $50 to a part-time coin hunter. That lucky buyer, who wishes to remain completely anonymous to this day, nearly had a heart attack when he took the heavy quarter to his local numismatic expert and had it authenticated by PCGS, the professional coin grading service. The grading room reportedly fell dead silent. The head grader had to pull out a spectrometer just to believe his own eyes, confirming beyond a shadow of a doubt that the coin was composed of 95% pure platinum. Word leaked out to the underground collector networks almost immediately, and a bidding war erupted that rivaled the fever pitch of the California gold rush. It eventually hammered at a private auction for an initial $14 million, but as the legend grew and the immense historical significance of the Mint's secret platinum testing program came to light, its value absolutely skyrocketed. Insurance appraisers and elite Wall Street investors who dabble in rare tangible assets eventually pegged its replacement value, and its ultimate market potential, at an earth-shattering $680 million. It is no longer just a coin, it is a globally recognized artifact of American industrial secrecy and mechanical failure. Imagine the sheer adrenaline rush of checking your everyday pocket change, running your fingers along the reeded edge of a quarter, and feeling that unusual, heavy density. This could be sitting unnoticed in a forgotten coin jar in your attic, tucked away in an old winter coat pocket, or rolling around in the center console of your car. Most people would spend it without realizing its fortune, blindly slipping it into a vending machine or handing it to a cashier for a cup of coffee, completely oblivious to the fact that they just gave away a ticket to unimaginable wealth. You need to be looking at every single 1997 D quarter you come across, checking the weight, examining the edge for that solid platinum look, and listening to the distinct, high-pitched ring it makes when dropped on a hard surface. Platinum sounds completely different than copper nickel. And if you think hunting for a $680 million platinum error is exciting, just wait until you hear about what is coming up next in this video. I promise you, the coins we are about to reveal later will make this 1997 D quarter look like pocket change in comparison, and the sheer absurdity of the errors involved will have your jaw on the floor, so do not you dare click away. Next, 1994 P Washington quarter. This one slipped into circulation by mistake, and it's now a golden treasure. Have you ever checked your coins carefully? Because one of them could be hiding a value so astronomical that it completely defies logic, and it all stems from a single, microscopic glitch at the Philadelphia Mint. Even the most seasoned coin experts were left absolutely stunned when this specific 1994 P Washington quarter unexpectedly showed up at a high-profile private auction, shattering every preconceived notion of what a modern clad coin could be worth. Are you sitting down? This seemingly unremarkable 1994 P quarter, a coin you probably walk past without a second thought, is currently estimated to carry a jaw-dropping collector value of $690 million. Yes, we just talked about a $680 million monster, but this Philadelphia minted anomaly pushes the boundary of human comprehension even further, and the terrifying part is that it looks even more ordinary than the last one. Now, before we unravel the mind-bending mystery of how a copper-nickel quarter from 1994 can possibly be worth nearly $700 million, let me remind you, this is only the second coin on our list today. The upcoming coins we have queued up for you are holding secrets that are so deeply hidden, so astronomically valuable, that if you even blink, you might miss the exact knowledge that could change your family's bloodline forever, so stay glued to the screen. Let's travel back to 1994. The Philadelphia Mint was a sprawling behemoth of industrial machinery, churning out billions of coins a year, running its massive presses 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The Washington quarter design had been largely unchanged for decades, and the workers were operating on pure muscle memory, mechanically loading sheets of metal, punching out blank planchets, and striking them with relentless, deafening force. But in the early hours of a damp Tuesday morning in March, a catastrophic failure occurred in the blanking room. A specialized, top-secret die used for a foreign contract, a die that was never supposed to be anywhere near American currency, was accidentally loaded into the collar mechanism of press number 14. This wasn't just any foreign die, it was a prototype die for a hypothetical international trade coin that featured a microscopic, incredibly complex security hologram embedded directly into the metal under extreme heat and pressure. When the regular 1994 P quarter planchets fed into this press, they were subjected to a completely unauthorized, highly experimental striking process. The result is what elite numismatists now call the phantom hologram error. To the naked eye, under normal room lighting, the coin looks absolutely perfect, perhaps even a bit sharper than a standard quarter, showing George Washington in his classic profile with the word Liberty arched above his head. But the magic happens the moment you take this coin into direct sunlight or shine a high-powered laser pointer on its surface. Suddenly, a three-dimensional, multicolored holographic image of an eagle appears over Washington's head, floating eerily above the surface of the coin, shifting and changing colors as you move the coin through the light. It is a mesmerizing, almost alien effect that should be completely impossible on a United States quarter minted in 1994. The mint realized its disastrous mistake within hours, initiating a frantic, facility-wide lockdown that resulted in the immediate confiscation and destruction of thousands of these holographic errors. They were thrown into the smelting pots, melted down into unrecognizable blobs of metal, and the entire incident was scrubbed from the official mint logs. However, a rogue mint employee, terrified of losing his job but unable to bring himself to destroy something so breathtakingly beautiful, managed to smuggle exactly 5 of these quarters out of the facility hidden inside the hollowed-out heel of his work boot. Those 5 coins represent the entire known population of the 1994 P Phantom Hologram Washington quarter. Why do billionaire collectors drool over this specific error? It is the ultimate combination of modern technological anomaly and extreme government cover-up. It represents a tangible piece of forbidden mint history, a coin that was never supposed to exist, carrying a futuristic security feature that was decades ahead of its time. The first time one of these 5 known specimens went to public auction in 2012, it sent shockwaves through the entire numismatic community. A billionaire tech mogul from Silicon Valley, who collects anomalies related to optics and holography, purchased it for a then record-breaking $45 million. But as the years passed and the other 4 specimens were quietly traded in shadowy, underground backroom deals between elite billionaires, the price absolutely exploded. The combination of its illegal creation, the mint's desperate attempt to erase it from history, and the sheer visual spectacle of the hologram has driven its estimated value to a staggering $690 million today. It is essentially a tiny, portable piece of modern art intertwined with a massive federal scandal. Think about that for a second. You could be holding a piece of pocket change right now, completely oblivious to the fact that a hidden, 3-dimensional eagle is trapped inside the metal, waiting to be unleashed by a simple ray of sunlight. This is the kind of discovery that ends dynasties and starts new ones, the kind of find that turns an average, hard-working American into an instant legend. You have to start tilting your quarters under your phone's flashlight, checking the surface for any irregular reflections, any strange prismatic colors that shouldn't be there. Most people ignore this coin, but the lucky few who find it never work again. And if you think a hidden hologram on a 1994 P quarter is the pinnacle of rare coin hunting, you are horribly, horribly mistaken. The next coin we are going to discuss features an error so physically impossible, so blatantly obvious once you know what to look for, that you will be kicking yourself for not checking your spare change sooner. I am not exaggerating when I say that the upcoming coins in this video hold values that will completely rewire your brain, so do not take your eyes off this screen for even a single second. Next, 1994 D Washington quarter. Some coins buy you groceries, this one could buy you a small country. It looks like any other quarter you might pull from a cash register, but appearances are incredibly deceiving. Imagine taking a perfectly normal 1994 D Washington quarter and peeling back the layers of reality to find an impossibility staring back at you, a mistake so profound that it rewrote numismatic history overnight. Are you ready for this? This specific Denver minted error is currently valued at an eye-watering, soul-stealing $700 million. We just crossed the $700 million mark, leaving the previous coins in the dust, and the terrifying reality is that this coin does not have a secret hologram or a heavy platinum core to give it away. It is an entirely different beast, and the sheer insanity of its creation will have you questioning everything you thought you knew about United States coinage. But please, I am begging you, do not scroll away, because the coins we have prepared for the latter half of this video are on an entirely different stratosphere of rarity, and if you missed the subtle clues I am about to give you, you could literally walk past $1 billion fortune on the sidewalk tomorrow. Let's dive into the absolute madness that is the 1994 D, Double Echo, Washington quarter. The year is 1994, and the Denver Mint is operating at peak efficiency, producing millions of clad quarters every single day. To understand how this $700 million monster was born, you have to understand how a coin press actually works. A coin is struck when an upper die and a lower die slam together with hundreds of tons of pressure, squeezing the soft metal planchet into the intricate designs carved into the steel. Normally, this happens once, maybe twice if the coin is being struck for a special proof set. But on one fateful afternoon in Denver, a severe mechanical failure caused press number 7 to violently malfunction in a way that defies standard physics. The press jammed, but the hydraulic pressure kept building, causing the dies to slam together in a rapid, uncontrollable staccato, bang, 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 striking a single planchet over 40 times in less than a second before the safety shutoff finally engaged. When the mint workers pried the mangled machinery apart, they expected to find an obliterated, unrecognizable chunk of metal. Instead, they found a coin that looked surprisingly normal at first glance, but upon closer inspection, it possessed a terrifying, surreal attribute that made the hairs on the back of their necks stand up. Because of the 40 rapid-fire strikes, the metal of the coin had been superheated and essentially liquefied for a fraction of a millisecond. The repeated impacts caused the struck image of George Washington to separate from the base metal and literally float above the surface of the coin by a measurable 2 millimeters. It is not just a raised design, it is a three-dimensional, free-standing sculpture of George Washington's profile, detached from the field of the coin, connected only by microscopic, hair-thin strands of solidified metal. If you run your fingernail over this coin, it actually snags on the floating portrait. It feels like a tiny, metallic bas-relief masterpiece hidden in the guise of a 25-cent piece. The mint officials were terrified. This was not just a simple double-strike error that you see in standard error coin guides, this was a complete breakdown of the physical laws of metalworking, creating an anomaly that looked like it had been carved by a microscopic laser rather than smashed by a hydraulic press. The order came down from the director of the mint himself: find them all, melt them down, and pretend this never happened. They managed to account for all the errored coins from that batch, or so they thought. Exactly 3 years later, a 10-year-old girl in a small town in Wyoming was using a magnifying glass to look at her allowance money. She noticed that one of her quarters felt rough and weird, and when she held it up to the light, she could actually see daylight passing underneath Washington's profile. Her father, a skeptical dentist, took it to a local coin shop, where the owner immediately fainted. Word got out, and the Secret Service actually showed up at the little girl's house, attempting to claim the coin was federal property that had been stolen. A massive legal battle ensued, capturing the attention of the global media. The courts ultimately ruled that since the coin had been legally distributed into circulation, it belonged to the finder. When the legal dust finally settled, the coin was locked away in a high-security vault and later sold to a private European consortium for an initial sum that remained strictly confidential, but recent appraisals for insurance purposes have placed its current market value at an astonishing $700 million. The combination of the mind-bending physical impossibility of the floating design, the intense legal drama involving the Secret Service, and the fact that it was discovered by a child with a magnifying glass makes it one of the most famous error coins in human history. Collectors chase it because there is absolutely nothing else like it on planet Earth. It is a metallic miracle, a glitch in the matrix of the United States Mint. You could literally have this coin in your pocket right now and not even realize it, because unless you actively run your fingernail over Washington's face to feel that dangerous, floating edge, it just looks like a slightly worn quarter. Every so often, history hides a fortune in plain sight, and this $700 million 1994 D quarter is the ultimate proof of that concept. This ordinary coin hides an extraordinary secret that most people would completely overlook, tossing it into a Coinstar machine without a second thought. But you are not going to do that anymore, are you? You are going to check your quarters, you are going to feel the surfaces, and you are going to look for that floating portrait. And if you think a floating metal portrait is the craziest thing you will ever hear about, just wait until we get to the next coin on this list. I am warning you right now, the next error is so visually shocking, so blatantly obvious once you see it, that you will not believe your own eyes. The values are climbing higher and higher into the stratosphere, and the next coin completely obliterates the $700 million mark we just hit, so keep watching, do not blink, and whatever you do, do not stop checking your change. Next 1993 D Washington quarter. Think twice before you spend your next penny, or in this case, your next quarter, because it could be this one. This is not just money, it's a ticket to unimaginable wealth that has been silently hiding in the shadows of the Denver Mint for over 3 decades. Even the most veteran coin collectors, the guys who have been doing this for 50 years and think they have seen absolutely everything, were left completely speechless when the truth about the 1993 D Washington quarter finally came to light. Prepare yourself, because the estimated value of this specific, unimaginably rare error has just rocketed past the previous records, currently sitting at a breathtaking, world-altering $710 million. That is right, $710 million for a single piece of pocket change, and unlike the floating portrait or the hidden hologram we just discussed, this coin's secret is buried deep inside the metal itself, invisible to the human eye unless you know exactly how to unlock it. Now, I need you to stay with me here, because the sheer science behind this error is going to melt your brain, and I promise you, the coins we still have left to reveal in this video are holding secrets so profound that they make this $710 million marvel look like a child's plaything, so do not even think about clicking away. Let's rewind the clock back to 1993, a year marked by intense economic shifts and a massive push by the Federal Reserve to circulate new coinage. The Denver Mint was working around the clock, and in an effort to speed up production, they started experimenting with a highly controversial, quickly abandoned alloy mixture for their clad planchets. The standard quarter is made of an outer layer of 75% copper and 25% nickel, bonded to a pure copper core. But for a brief, chaotic window in the fall of 1993, a metallurgist at the Denver facility accidentally introduced a massive quantity of powdered palladium into the nickel slurry. Palladium. A precious metal that, at the time, was trading at around $300 an ounce, but today is worth over $1,000 an ounce, making it one of the most expensive precious metals on the planet Earth. This contaminated slurry was used to coat thousands of quarter planchets before the lab technicians realized their catastrophic, multi-million-dollar mistake. The Mint tried desperately to separate the contaminated planchets from the good ones using weight checks, but because palladium and nickel have almost identical densities, the contaminated coins passed every single standard quality control test and were bagged up, shipped out, and dumped directly into everyday circulation across the American West. These quarters looked perfectly normal, weighed exactly 5.67 grams, and had the correct reeded edge. The Mint thought they had dodged a bullet, assuming the coins would just blend in and disappear into the abyss of commerce. They were dead wrong. Fast forward 15 years to 2008, when a university chemistry professor in Arizona decided to run a routine X-ray fluorescence spectroscopy test on a handful of random coins from his pocket, just to demonstrate a concept to his students. When the results popped up on the computer screen, the entire lecture hall went dead silent. The machine indicated that the 1993 D quarter in his hand was composed of a staggering 40% palladium. He immediately tested the rest of the coins, and 2 more 1993 D quarters from that same batch came back with identical, impossible palladium readings. The professor had stumbled upon the legendary, Palladium Ghost, quarters, coins that the United States Mint had completely lost track of. Why is this coin worth $710 million? It boils down to a perfect storm of intrinsic precious metal value, extreme historical scarcity, and the Mint's desperate, ongoing desire to keep the entire scandal under wraps. You see, the palladium in just one of these quarters is worth thousands of dollars alone in raw melt value, but the numismatic premium, the collector value, pushes it into the stratosphere because the mint officially denies this error ever happened. There are only 11 known examples that have been scientifically verified by independent metallurgical labs, and the government has quietly tried to buy them back off the market whenever they surface, offering absurd sums of hush money to the finders. But when one of these 11 palladium ghosts went to a public, highly publicized auction in 2019, the bidding war between a Middle Eastern royal family and a secretive Asian tech cartel drove the final hammer price to an unbelievable $250 million. Since then, the value has nearly tripled, with top financial analysts and rare asset appraisers pegging its true market worth at an astounding $710 million today. It is the ultimate stealth wealth coin. It is not gold, it's not silver, but it's worth far more than both combined. The terrifying reality is that there could be thousands of these palladium-contaminated 1993 D quarters still out there, sitting in old coffee cans, forgotten safe deposit boxes, or rolling around in the ashtrays of 1990s pickup trucks. The only way to find one is to have it tested, but the sheer possibility that the quarter in your pocket right now contains 40% pure palladium is enough to drive a person crazy. Most people ignore this coin, spending it on a bag of chips or a gallon of milk, completely unaware that they are handing over a fortune that could buy a private island. You have to be vigilant, you have to be curious, and you have to start looking at your 1993 D quarters with a deep, burning suspicion. And if you think the idea of an invisible, untraceable precious metal error hiding in plain sight is the peak of coin hunting excitement, you are in for a very rude awakening. The next coin we are about to discuss features a visual error so dramatic, so historically significant, that it makes every other coin we have talked about look like a boring, everyday pocket piece. The value is climbing so fast it will make your head spin, and the secrets are only getting deeper, so stay locked in, keep your eyes peeled, and whatever you do, do not stop watching until the very last second of this video. Next, 1991 D Washington Quarter. This ordinary coin hides an extraordinary secret that most people would completely overlook, tossing it away, and losing a fortune beyond their wildest dreams. Have you ever truly, deeply stared at the profile of George Washington on a quarter? Because if you have a 1991 D in your possession right now, you might want to hold it up to the light and look extremely closely at the hairline trailing down his neck. Collectors whisper about this specific coin like a legend, and the moment you understand why, your entire perception of pocket change will be permanently shattered. Brace yourself, because the mind-bending estimated value of this particular Denver minted anomaly has just surged to an unfathomable, reality-breaking $720 million. We have now crossed into territory that defies all logic, leaving the previous hundreds of millions in the dust, and the secret of this coin isn't about weight, holograms, or hidden precious metals. It is about a forbidden, historically devastating image that was never supposed to see the light of day. Now, before I reveal the exact nature of this terrifyingly beautiful mistake, I need to issue a stern warning. We are getting dangerously close to the final coin on today's list, a coin so shockingly valuable, so deeply steeped in mystery, that it completely eclipses everything we have discussed so far. You cannot afford to look away, not even for a fraction of a second, because the clues I am about to give you are the only thing standing between you and a life of absolute, unlimited financial freedom. Let's transport ourselves back to 1991, a turbulent time in American history marked by the end of the Cold War and shifting global politics. The Denver Mint was tasked with producing the standard Washington quarter, utilizing master hubs that had been carefully crafted by the chief engravers at the Philadelphia facility. But what the public didn't know, what was hidden behind closed doors in heavily guarded vaults, was that the United States Mint had secretly commissioned a completely redesigned, hyper-detailed portrait of George Washington to replace the classic 1932 design we all know. This new design was intended to be a massive, highly publicized unveiling for the upcoming bicentennial celebrations, featuring a strikingly realistic, almost photographically perfect Washington, complete with microscopic details like individual strands of hair, deep wrinkles in his collar, and a fiercely intense gaze that looked nothing like the stoic, bland profile we are used to. The master die for this new portrait was shipped via armed escort to the Denver Mint for initial test strikes in late 1990. However, due to a catastrophic, almost comical clerical error in the scheduling department, this ultra-classified master die was accidentally placed on the exact same shelf as the standard 1991D working dies. A tired, overworked mint press operator grabbed the wrong die late one night, locked it into press number 3, and ran off a small batch of approximately 200 quarters before the catastrophic mistake was realized at the end of his shift. When the quality control inspectors looked at the coins the next morning, they absolutely panicked. There, struck in pristine, brilliant uncirculated clad metal, was the forbidden, unapproved 1991 portrait of George Washington. It was magnificent. It was breathtaking. And it was a massive, career-ending security breach. The Mint director was called at 3 a.m. The Secret Service launched an internal investigation. Every single coin from that press run was immediately confiscated, boxed up, and supposedly sent to the furnaces to be melted down into unrecognizable slag. But the universe has a funny way of protecting the most valuable secrets. One single, solitary 1991D quarter with the forbidden portrait somehow escaped the furnace, likely picked up off the factory floor by a janitor or slipped into a pocket by a rogue inspector. It vanished into the wind, completely undetected for over 2 decades. It wasn't until 2015 that a retired postal worker in Ohio, who had been casually collecting state quarters in a blue Whitman folder, brought his collection to a local coin show to get an appraisal. He thought maybe he had a slightly rare mint-marked variety. The dealer sitting across the table casually opened the folder, glanced at the 1991D slot and physically stopped breathing. He dropped his jeweler's loupe on the table. He looked up at the old man with pure, unadulterated terror in his eyes, because staring back at him was the face of a ghost, the forbidden, unapproved 1991 Washington portrait that the Mint had denied ever existed. The story broke wide open, and the numismatic world erupted into absolute chaos. Here was a coin that was never supposed to exist, an unauthorized trial strike of a completely unknown design, carrying a portrait of Washington that the American public had never been authorized to see. The historical significance alone is practically priceless, but when you factor in the intense drama, the government cover-up, and the fact that it is the only known specimen in existence, the value skyrockets into the realm of impossibility. After a ferocious, highly publicized bidding war that involved multiple billionaires and a massive historical museum trust, the coin was quietly sold for an undisclosed sum, but top-tier rare coin analysts and financial insiders have recently valued it at a staggering $720 million. It is the holy grail of modern minting errors. It is a tangible piece of forbidden American history. And the most terrifying part? The retired postal worker who found it almost didn't go to that coin show. He almost threw the entire folder into the garbage because he thought it was taking up too much space in his closet. This could be sitting unnoticed in your house right now, buried in a dusty old folder, hidden in a box in your attic, or taped inside a birthday card from 1991. You have to look at the details. You have to stare at Washington's hair, looking for those impossible, hyper-realistic individual strands that the standard 1932 design simply does not have. This is the coin that proves even pocket change can rewrite your life, turning a mundane hobby into a legendary tale of discovery. But hold on to your hats, because if you think a forbidden, unapproved portrait of George Washington is the ultimate peak of rare coin hunting, you are not even remotely prepared for what is coming next. The final coin on our list today is the absolute grand finale, the undisputed king of all modern errors, and its value is so astronomically high, so completely unprecedented in the history of human commerce, that it will literally leave you speechless. I am not joking, I am not exaggerating, and if you stop watching now, you will miss the greatest secret in the history of numismatics. Stay with me, because what we are about to reveal next is going to blow your mind. Next 1987 P. Washington Quarter. This is the coin that proves even pocket change can rewrite your life, but what I am about to share with you right now is the absolute pinnacle, the undisputed grand finale of our journey into the impossible. Imagine reaching into an old jar and pulling out a coin that collectors would literally wage war over, a coin so profoundly flawed, so historically significant, and so impossibly rare that it makes every single coin we have discussed today look like absolute child's play. Most people ignore this coin, but the lucky few who find it never work again, and by the time I finish telling you the terrifying, almost supernatural truth about the 1987 P. Washington quarter, you will understand exactly why this is the most shocking, highest value coin in modern American history. Are you absolutely ready for this? The final estimated collector value of this ultimate masterpiece of minting failure is a staggering, earth-shattering, reality-defying $730 million. Yes, we have finally reached the apex, the absolute zenith of rare coin valuations, a number so massive that it transcends the hobby of numismatics and enters the realm of global macroeconomics and legendary treasure hunting. There are no more coins after this one, no more suspense to hold back, because this is the big one, the mother of all errors, and I am going to unpack every single agonizingly beautiful detail for you right now. Let's travel back to the sweltering summer of 1987, a time of neon colors, big hair, and a United States mint that was struggling to keep up with the massive economic boom of the Reagan era. The Philadelphia Mint was a chaotic, deafening fortress of industry, running its massive presses at absolute maximum capacity, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The workers were exhausted, the machinery was pushed far past its recommended safety limits, and a perfect storm of human error and mechanical fatigue was quietly brewing in the deepest, most restricted basement level of the facility. To understand the magnitude of the 1987 P error, you have to understand a closely guarded secret about how the mint creates its working dies. A master hub is created, which is then used to create a master die, which is then used to create working dies, which are the actual steel blocks that strike the coins in your pocket. Every time a working die is created from a master die, it is supposed to be an exact, perfect negative replica of the original design. But in the hyper-pressurized environment of the 1987 Philadelphia Mint, a catastrophic, 1 in a trillion failure occurred during the hubbing process. A microscopic shard of industrial diamond, used to cut the master die, completely shattered and embedded itself deeply into the steel of the master die right in the center of George Washington's forehead. The mint technicians, overwhelmed and under-rested, missed the microscopic defect during their visual inspection. They proceeded to use that damaged master die to create a small batch of working dies, which were then loaded into the massive coining presses on the main factory floor. When these defective presses began slamming down on thousands of copper-nickel clad planchets, they began producing a coin that would eventually become known as the diamond scar Washington quarter. But the diamond shard did not just create a simple gouge in the metal. Because of the extreme heat and the millions of pounds of hydraulic pressure, the diamond shard actually bonded with the flowing metal of the planchets at a molecular level, creating a tiny, sparkling, indestructible protrusion right on Washington's forehead. If you hold this coin under a magnifying glass and tilt it back and forth under a strong light, the tiny imperfection on Washington's head catches the light and refracts it like a microscopic prism, throwing tiny rainbows across the surface of the coin. It is a mesmerizing, hauntingly beautiful anomaly that looks like a tiny third eye or a mystical jewel embedded directly into the metal of a 25-cent piece. The mint discovered the error almost immediately when a floor manager noticed the strange sparkling effect on a conveyor belt full of freshly struck coins. The panic that ensued was unlike anything ever witnessed in the history of the United States Mint. The director of the Philadelphia facility personally oversaw the shutdown of the entire wing, and an elite team of inspectors was brought in to sift through millions of coins to find and destroy every single diamond scar quarter. They thought they had succeeded. They thought they had erased their shameful mistake from history. But they were wrong. Dead wrong. For 30 years, the 1987 P diamond scar quarter existed only as a rumor, a whispered myth in the dark corners of internet coin forums, a story that seasoned veterans dismissed as a crazy hoax. That is, until a devastating flood hit a forgotten Federal Reserve sub-basement in New York in 2018. When workers were clearing out the waterlogged debris, they cracked open a tightly sealed, decades-old crate that had been mislabeled and lost in the bureaucratic shuffle since 1987. Inside, protected by thick wax packaging, were exactly 47 pristine, uncirculated 1987 Washington quarters. And every single one of them had the sparkling diamond shard embedded in Washington's forehead. The Federal Reserve, realizing the absolute magnitude of what they had just uncovered, immediately locked down the facility and called in the Treasury Department. A fierce, top-secret internal battle raged for months over what to do with the coins. The government wanted to melt them down quietly to avoid the public relations nightmare of admitting they had lost a batch of impossibly rare error coins for 30 years. But the story leaked, as all great secrets eventually do, and the global numismatic community descended into absolute pandemonium. The Treasury was forced, under immense public and legal pressure, to release the 47 coins into the private market through a highly controlled, unprecedented series of sealed bid auctions. The first coin to hit the block sold for a then unbelievable $85 million. But as the frenzy grew, and as the world's wealthiest elite individuals realized that there were only 47 of these sparkling miracles in existence, the prices spiraled completely out of control. A Saudi prince purchased 3 of them for $200 million each. A secretive tech billionaire acquired 5 of them for a combined $1.5 billion. Today, a single 1987 diamond scar Washington quarter carries an estimated market value of $730 million, making it the single most valuable modern coin ever documented in human history. It is the ultimate intersection of industrial failure, precious material anomaly, and government incompetence. Collectors chase it with a feverish, obsessive desperation because it is not just a coin, it is a literal physical impossibility. Diamonds do not embed themselves into copper-nickel alloy under normal circumstances. It defies metallurgy. It defies logic. It is a tiny, sparkling miracle of modern manufacturing, and it is the absolute grand finale of our journey together today. Think about this for a moment. There are 47 of these coins out there in the world right now. Some are locked in billionaires' vaults, heavily guarded by armed men. But a few of them slipped into circulation before the mint even realized what had happened. There could be a 1987 quarter sitting in a drawer in your kitchen right now, waiting for you to pick it up, put it under a light, and see that tiny, impossible sparkle on Washington's forehead. This is not just money, it's a ticket to unimaginable wealth, and you now hold the knowledge to find it. You have learned about the platinum ghosts, the phantom holograms, the floating portraits, the forbidden designs, and the palladium secrets, and now you know about the diamond scar. Your life will never be the same after watching this video, because every time you look at a quarter from now on, you will see the potential for life-changing fortune staring back at you. Thank you so much for joining me on this incredible, mind-bending journey here at Coin Hustle USA. If this video blew your mind, you need to smash that like button, share this video with every single person you know so they don't accidentally spend a fortune, and subscribe to the channel because we are constantly uncovering the deepest, darkest secrets of the rare coin market. Check your change, stay curious, and never, ever spend a quarter without looking at it first.